Welcome, everyone, to another episode of 7 Minutes. I am your host, Chris Wright. I got my co-host here, Beverly Swim. What's up,
Hello,
Bev?
everyone.
Awesome. So today we got a very, very special guest who's doing very important work in the community, and Miss Virginia Rawlins. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Glad she's here. So,
Welcome.
Thanks
yay!
for having me.
So, Virginia, you have a very good social media presence, and you are doing great things in the community with Building Blocks. You're the president and CEO of, of Building Blocks. So, why don't you tell us all what Building Blocks is and tell me about your mission?
Yeah. So Building Blocks is my solution to the inequities that I found just kind of working in the real estate slash nonprofit world, kind of here in the capital region, right? So I think there are resources, and I think the resources are available, but I think just again in my experience, there's a disconnect between the people who need the resources and the actual resources, right? So Building Blocks is kind of that plug in between, right? Trying to create that equity specifically for Black and Brown home buyers.
Yeah, and that's awesome. When you and I we were on a panel a while ago. Well, it's kind of been over a year now, right? Probably during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were on a
Okay.
panel, right? And we were talking about the situation in Black and Brown communities of home ownership. What is that like, and has that changed since our last interview after the pandemic and things like that?
So I think the numbers are trending in the right way, generally speaking. I think obviously there's still a gap. And then there's like also like market factors, right? I think just generally, and I don't even want to say that it's specific to Black people. I think everybody has issues with that 3.5 or closing costs and things like that, right? But I think specifically Black and Brown people, just the historic, nature of them being kind of like just redlined, literally, and blocked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the numbers are trending in a good way. Unfortunately, the interest rates are not. Um, so that's like just right, just the market. It's just like systemic stuff, and then like just everyday market stuff that people have to deal with kind of in the real estate industry. But I think the work we're doing, especially with the grant is about to relaunch too. So especially that work, be able to provide that $5,000, that $10,000, and get people over the finish line is really important. So
But let me talk about this.
at
So
least in the capital region, I know that we're especially trending in the correct way.
right. So if you haven't met Beverly Swim, my co-host, she also works in the real estate world. She works in a title company. Beverly, why don't you tell Virginia a little bit about what you do?
I do business development for SMPR title, but I do it differently than most people. My job is to help connect people and build their referral opportunities and build their connections and their COI. So because that's what I do, I'm not looking to build my business. I'm looking to help you. As I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, okay, well, what can I do to help you? So how do you get new clients? How do you get the word out that you're there to help people in their home ownership?
So like Chris said, social media, I think the pandemic was like obviously a curse, but like for me, it really allowed me to just kind of push things out on social media consistently, and not having to be really present at every, meeting, at every event. So I think social media has definitely played a big role in that. And then I think the grant, right? I think the grant itself is almost like a lead magnet, if you will, right? And I think just like this last year was kind of me setting up systems, right, to kind of manage those leads effectively and kind of convert those. So that's like primarily how I'm getting like new clients. And then obviously like word of mouth. I get a lot of referrals as well.
Who do you get referrals from?
COI.
Okay, people that know you.
Mm-hmm.
And know your ability and what you're doing for people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful thing.
It feels great, honestly.
So I'm sorry, go ahead. This is exciting. Go ahead.
How did you come up with the idea?
Honestly, just kind of working the different jobs. I actually did List of AmeriCorps, and started at the land bank. And of course, like everybody, I was like, $5,000 house, like that's so easy. Like that's like a giveaway, it's a steal, right? So obviously not. There's like at least 100,000, right? That needs to go into it to even bring it up to anything that's decent. So just kind of seeing like, again, the Black and brown communities, primarily their properties are in Arbor Hill, West Hill, South End, right, North Albany, to want to buy these houses, but it's like the reality of it is that that's a cash business or a credit business. So
Okay, so
basically, people wanting to buy, they're seeing the low prices, wanting to buy, but the reality of it, right, like I said, is a credit business, neither of which are like flush, right? So just again providing that gap, right? Or that being that connector. I was just like, how can I kind of be that plug, if you will, right? I think, like I said, I think the entities, they exist. Like I'm not trying to be, it looks like I'm trying to be everything, right? But I'm not. But
right.
I really don't want to be everything, right? There are entities that exist, and it's just about knowing where those resources are, where to go to kind of get that help, or where to go to get the property, or where to go and how to assemble the home buying team, and where to go to fix your credit. And just it's just about knowing where to go, who to call, really, and just kind of the end result, right? It's just kind of increasing like the home ownership rate.
Do you have a geographic territory?
Say that again.
Do you have a geographic territory?
I've primarily capital region. As far as I guess like pure real estate goes. But with building blocks, there are program specific areas that the grant covers.
Right.
Virginia, so, full disclosure, I've sold almost 300 homes in my career. And in that time, I've only helped less than 10, I can't even count, less than 10 Black and brown families out of almost 300, right? And you know how real estate is. You do your COI, you search for business, people come to you. I've done home buying workshops, libraries, classrooms, anywhere I could get, people, especially people that are in need or underserved, to try and come to these workshops and get the information. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I did find a lot of times that there are many people in these communities that want to buy. They don't know the resources, don't have the resources. And I just want to know how do you market that and get that out there? That like, hey, I'm over here, I can help you. What do you do?
So I think like really like word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think so, to be honest, even before I guess built building blocks specifically, right? I think if you go back maybe like 5 years looking at my social media, I would just share all community events, meetings, if there was like grants available or workshop happening. So I think it was almost innate to me to kind of just share the resources, right? I think with building blocks and kind of running into the land bank by happenstance, right? I just honed in on real estate specifically. But yeah, I was just always kind of just sharing what's going on, just kind of keeping everybody aware, I guess. But really keeping myself aware and just kind of being plugged in, trying to be plugged in really to the community, to be honest with you.
Do you offer any other services besides real estate? I think you froze.
Do I offer any other
Yeah.
services? So the grant administration, technically I'm just the administrator. I don't know how I became the face of it. But yeah, technically building blocks is just the administrator. And then we have like different events. And then we're trying to just grow out the service portion by partnering with different nonprofits. And trying to kind of formally offer housing counseling services. So just a work in progress.
Gotcha.
I usually come up with some kind of eclectic questions. So here's one. Many say that success comes from a lot of different failures. Does this statement fit you?
Yes. I'm currently in the middle of some failures. No, yeah, I think that every day I think I'm like learning something new, right? I think I joke and say I wear all the hats because I wear most of them. But I've learned how to do Wix websites. I've learned how to make flyers that were actually good, right? I've learned like how to basically host an event. Like I'm an event planner too, right? I'm a grant writer. I'm a grant administrator. I'm a housing count. Like, so I feel like really running a business, you almost have to learn everything. And then inevitably, right, you fail at something and you just kind of have to go back to the drawing board. So yeah, I would say again, I'm in the middle of some failures right now, right? But I almost use it as like the fuel almost to kind of keep going, right? Because I have a vision, I see the vision, and it's like I didn't see this specific failure, right? But I still see like the end result, right? And kind of just the overall impact. So yes, I would agree to that.
I love that line about Edison. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's basically he didn't fail 100 different ways of making a light bulb. He figured out there was 100 ways not to, so that to move on to the next one. So maybe that's exactly what you're doing. You're figuring out how not to do it next time.
Yes, I like the spin. I love the spin.
Beautiful. So let's talk about the TUI Foundation.
Yes.
So the TUI Foundation, tell us what it is, how you got involved in it.
So Charles Tui is actually the president of the Albany County Land Bank Board. I used to work at the Albany County Land Bank. So he, like, I started building blocks, I think technically, right, on paper, legally, while I was still at the land bank, but basically on the way out. And he literally calls me during the pandemic. He's like, look, I have this program. You know, I have some money. This is what the program is going to do. I think it works well in your mission. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. So he like pitches it to me almost like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. So the next call was like, so what do you think about doing it? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Right. So that's literally like how it came about. Like it was just like he asked me a couple questions, like my opinion on it, and I was like, oh yeah, this works. And obviously, I'm kind of in that space. I was in the space kind of doing, research for the land bank. So I had the numbers. I knew the numbers. I was very familiar with it. So yeah, it was almost like two puzzle pieces came together actually.
Are you allowed to talk about the grant right now and what it is? You said the grant's starting again. So yeah, why don't you tell us what the grant is? People are going to want to love to know that, and I'm going to put all your information on this video. So
yeah, absolutely. So the grant is for African American first-time home buyers looking to purchase. It was the entire capital region, but now it's Albany, Schenectady, Troy, City of Rensselaer, and Amsterdam.
okay.
And I believe Waterville was added later on. So if you purchase in the city of Albany, you qualify for up to 10,000. Any of the other cities, you qualify for up to 5,000. And then the way that I'm particularly running the grant, I'm not looking to nickel and dime people like, oh, you only need 35. Oh, listen, if it's in Schenectady, it's 5,000. If it's in Albany, it's 10,000. Right? That's, to me, the most efficient way and easiest way, logistically, at least for my end, to kind of run it as well. But I don't like, why would we not max people out for like essentially giving away money, right? Like that's kind of what this is, right? And then I think that's also like the best thing. Two really great things, right? So there's no lien against the property, right? So there's literally like no strings attached to it, no like mortgage recording fees as far as the home goes. And then what was the other thing? I forgot. It escaped me. But yeah, okay. So I think the processing time was what I was gonna say. So typically, like HUD funded grants, they take 4 to 6 weeks to process. This grant, I've processed it because I've been doing it personally. Before I got as a grants manager, I literally processed it in an hour. Like I processed. Really? Yeah.
So let me ask you. So who do you like to communicate with? Who do you like to communicate with, the realtor or the attorney?
Anybody who's going to give me the documents.
Hey, gotcha.
So the lender, so technically speaking, So it's like the application is filled out by the applicant, but technically speaking, the bulk of the documents do come from the lender, right? So if the lender gets the sheet or they're familiar with the grant, they'll just send over the documents that we need, and it doesn't have to come from the agent or the attorney, right? But I think we start to kind of go outwards in terms of communication when like obviously the applicant is like, I don't what documents? what's a loan estimate? I just want my house. Right. So right. So I think, really streamline it, the primary communication realistically would be the lender. And then I don't know what we need from the attorney except for the closing date. Yeah.
And so I'm a black guy. I want to buy a house in the city of Albany, $10,000. No other strings attached.
$10,000. No other strings attached. So
Beverly, get the word out.
Yes. It's
wait a minute. You said black. Wait a minute. You said black or brown people.
I'm sorry?
You said black or brown people, so you could be Hispanic too?
No, it's for African Americans.
Oh, African Americans. Okay.
But so it's a grant for Black people. If you want the grant, do your thing. Right? Right? Because somebody, like, I was on a call and somebody was like, well, Hispanic is an ethnicity. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to get in trouble. I'm trying to give away money. That's it.
Yeah. So what you're doing, so get this. So you're changing people's lives. What you're doing, this work that you're doing it's life-changing work that you're doing. So let's say in 20 years, there's a movie about you because you helped these families get into this home. And now there's a child prodigy, artist, a basketball player, baseball player, a musician. And all of a sudden, how did it get started? It got started because someone donated a piano. And the only reason they got a piano is because they got a house. Who's going to play you in that movie?
Ooh.
Wow.
I get a little eclectic when I get to the asking bizarre questions.
That's crazy. I have no idea. I've never thought about that question. Play me.
Regina King.
No, she's too old.
Yeah. So it's funny because the people that I'm thinking about are like older than me already. So
Right.
so yeah, that's a really good question. I have no idea.
We'll figure it out. It out. Well, before we go, do you have any
talent now?
Before we go, do you have anything you want to tell us that we might have missed?
The grant comes out March 10th. We are excited to be back in the process, back giving out money, back changing lives. Applications, everything will be live March 10th on the website. We have new events, workshops coming up, mixers coming up. So just check, everything's on the website also. Like we're trying to like streamline. Like I said, I have like leads coming from there. There are people texting me and listen, subscribe to the website, fill out the form on the website.
Right.
I get that information and I can take that information and run with it. So make sure you subscribe to the website, buildingblockstogether.com. It is technically under reconstruction right now, but still functional. And March 10th, don't miss the grant. Get qualified now.
all I can say is that, you had talked about some of your failures, but I think because you're helping so many people that you're blessed, and you're a good luck and good fortune is going to come your way.
Amen.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Beverly,
you for having me.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. You have a good night. Okay.
You too.
Bye.
Right, take care.
Thanks so much.